Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today we're going to start with module 2, as I noted in the email. Please note, folks, we're not out of sequence, because all modules are basically standalone. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to have Mr. Hill present his module 2. I believe we're going to start a little earlier next week at 9 a.m.
That's correct.
Okay. And then we're going to finish off with module 1 with a checklist the following week. As you know, all classes are recorded, and I will go ahead. You should have all the notes. I sent you some notes this morning. Also, you should have this in your binder. If you have not received your binder as yet, please go to the office and pick up your copy, or I'll send you an electronic one. Anyway, with all that said and done, I want to hand it over to Mr. Hill, and he will go ahead and introduce himself.
Okay, thank you, Miguel. Very nice to be with you again. It's actually a little bit like Bahamas in Bolton this afternoon. I can see blue sky, which is most unusual. The temperature is only 6 degrees, so it's not quite the same, but at least I can see the sun.
Okay. Yeah.
So definitely wish I was with you, but never mind. My wife's going to watch Liverpool play at Anfield this afternoon this evening while I'm working with you. So I think I've got the better of that deal because I'm a Manchester United.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm very pleased to be with you. This is one of my favorite topics, customer relationship skills, because it's absolutely crucial to everything that we do. If we don't look after our customers, it means we're not going to be in business for very long. So I've actually, Miguel's very kindly sent you the slides which I sent him, but I've decided to rewrite them to be a little bit more in line with the original outline which you received. So I will send these to Miguel to send on to you on Monday, and then you'll have a totally new set. So that's apologies from me, Miguel. I didn't realize that you sent them out so soon. Apologies. But hopefully I'll be working very, very closely to the original outline which you received in your draft, and I feel happier now with the material which I'm going to deliver to you today. So please feel free to join in. I'm very welcome of people asking questions. I'm very keen that you share your experiences with us. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I've worked for a long time in Barclays Bank in the UK. I ended up being the regional director for small business in the area where I live, which was quite convenient. I didn't actually have to move house for that. But then in 2005, I left and started working for a German university called Frankfurt School of Finance and Management. And I now act as a kind of a part-time consultant working for them and for other organizations such as the BIFS. So I've taught in 38 different countries. I've taught this topic, I've taught lending topics, I've taught leadership topics and management topics in 38 different countries, as I say. The first time I went abroad was in Russia in 1992, but I don't suppose anybody would be wanting to go there at the moment. But I've never been west, unfortunately. I've never been to your part of the world, which is a big omission, and I hope to do that one day. So, as I say, today we're going to talk about client relationship skills. When I was a branch manager at Barclays, I was in charge of a branch which had 6 outlets in different areas. We had about 120 people working for us in those days, and Barclays introduced a new customer first program. It was called Customer First, and I actually organised that and made it work across all of these outlets. And in the first 2 years that it was operating, we actually won the Customer First award for the whole country. That they had a very intensive ways of scoring. People got individual scores for their through mystery shoppers. They phoned up customers and asked them for the feedback after they'd had some kind of notable event, opening an account or opening a new product, and lots of different ways of getting feedback. And 2 consecutive years, we came top of that. Interestingly, we also came top of sales for those 2 years in the whole country. So there's a very close correlation, I believe, I've always believed, between sales and service. So I'll hope to share with you some of the ways that we improved our customer service within the framework which you've already received. So navigating your way to success. So we're going to talk about the customer service experience. We're going to talk about personal skills, because there are a number of skills that we can develop in ourselves which can improve customer service, but also these skills have other dependencies as well. So we'll talk about that anyway. Communication process, personality types. We need to understand different personality types, and also the different cultural issues, because I think I'm sure that in Bahamas you'll see a lot of different visitors from different parts of the world, and if you communicated with Americans in the same way as you communicated with Chinese people, forgetting about the language, just the cultural differences, you'd get some problems, really. So learning to deal with cultural issues is one of the things we're going to be talking about. I want to look closely at client advisory relationship models, because we can learn a lot about that. And then building trust and business ethics, because again, that's a key element of trusted relationships, ethical behavior. So as I say, a number of different topics we're going to be talking about over these 3 weeks in total. As I say, there's me and Miguel and 9 others, so it's not a very big group. Please feel comfortable to join in chats. You can see my screen at the moment, and whenever I press this presentation mode, unfortunately, all I can see is the screen and the tools at the top, and I can't see your faces at the moment. So it's okay that you didn't have your cameras on, but I don't think I can bring up chats other than when I'm doing this, which I don't want to do. So don't send a chat to me because I can't see it. If you just look at if you just talk out, that will be absolutely fine. I'm perfectly happy for you to join in. So what is service? We're talking about customer service. You tell me, give me an example of good customer service. What you think is good customer service, please. I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about this. Anybody? I can see 2 pictures, but I can't see any faces. I can see a couple of, a few first names. So Shanika, just thinking about service that you've had in the past, give me an example of good customer service, and why you thought it was good customer service, please. Would you mind?
Good morning, Mr. Hill. Maud here. I'll share a brief story.
Oh, great. Thank you, Maud. I'm very grateful. I'm just wondering what to do then with the total silence.
Okay, so I frequent a little coffee shop here in Nassau. And I always tell people I'm not a real coffee drinker. So when I go to order my coffee, I have to remember to tell the barista that I want half a shot of espresso. And I am lactose intolerant, so I can only tolerate coconut milk. So most of the time when I go, I don't remember to let them know what I want and what I don't want. So good customer service to me is that when I do go, they remember.
Yep.
Even when I don't.
Yes. You're actually, I think you're actually right. I think it's a really important part of good customer service. Thank you for that, Maud. Anybody else? I do a lot of traveling, as I said a few moments ago, and that means that I also spend quite a lot of time by myself in hotels and restaurants, and I tend to go to the places where I like the service. So that's something to think about. And I think if you were going to answer me, I think you might say the same thing. I think we all know what we like in terms of service, and we go back to the places that give us good service. People who are, if we've only been there for the first time, they're welcoming, they're kind, they're helpful, they're attentive. They've got the basics right in terms of the operational details. If it's a restaurant, the food's good. But we don't just go for the food, we go for the atmosphere, we go for the environment. It was interesting that Maud says that she isn't really a coffee drinker. A real treat for me is to go to Starbucks, which is, I guess I don't know if you have Starbucks in Bahamas, but we have a lot.
Yes, we do. And it's a Starbucks franchise that I go to.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, yeah. Starbucks have made a fortune out of good customer service, and they charge a premium price because people aren't just buying the coffee, they're paying for the experience. The feeling when you go there, the fact that they use your name when they write your name on the cup.
Agreed. Yes.
That's done for a reason, to create that kind of initial engagement. It isn't just to write it on the cup, it's to form a kind of a bond. And it's quite interesting, some of the places that I go to, there's a few different Starbucks that I use around here. The people have different characters, but they are all characters, and I actually do like the experience. I like that I can read the paper on my phone or whatever. You know, I can just relax and eat a blueberry muffin and drink some coffee. So that's a real treat for me, and I'm prepared to pay the premium price because of the service. So I think that's the issue really. People are prepared to pay if they get good service. So customer service is the sum total of what an organization does to meet customer expectations and produce customer satisfaction. And that's a quotation which I've used, but I actually think that if somebody is satisfied, if I got satisfactory on a piece of work that I did at school, or if the auditors came and they just said it was satisfactory, I was never really happy with that, because I was aiming for better than satisfaction. I was aiming for delight, really. And I would like to think of the word customer delight rather than customer satisfaction. But there are lots of different models, but all agree that organizations should have clear answers to the following basic questions. Do customers have a clear idea of the service they can expect from you? Do people know what they can expect when they come into your organization? And I've got to tell you that I tend to use two separate hotel groups, and I'm because of the number of flights that I make, I'm a gold card holder on two separate airlines. I use those airlines because I like them, because they've got service standards and they're repeatable. And that means that even though you're dealing with hundreds of different people, you can expect the same level of service most of the time. And the problem with service is that we're very reliant on the barista or the receptionist at the hotel, or the head waiter in the restaurant. And if they don't behave in the way that the owners expect them to has been set down. If they behave in a different way, if it's not a repeatable behavior, people notice those differences. Sometimes service is better than others, and that isn't how it should be. It should always be delightful service. So ask yourself the question again: do customers have a clear idea of the service they can expect from you, and is it going to be the same on every occasion? Do you gather high quality information about your customers and what they want on a regular basis? Do you have any kind of digital information so that you actually know what's going on with your customers? Can you be contacted easily? Do you have competent and well-trained staff? Do you respond quickly to queries and requests? Is it easy for customers to complain and make suggestions about the quality of your service? And actually, customer complaint handling is an incredibly important element of the whole piece. We actually targeted people within our organization to register complaints from customers. We didn't call them complaints because a complaint implies a customer coming in and being angry and saying, I demand to see the manager or something. We called them expressions of dissatisfaction. So we were really trying to tease out those small behaviors, those small incidents that made people feel less than 100% happy with us, so that we could build on them, so that we could improve on them. And if they were the kind of thing that was forced upon us by the system, forced upon us by the computer technology or whatever it is, we fed it up in a way to the head office so that they could invest money in different systems to remove these areas of dissatisfaction. So we're really trying to find out what makes people happy and what makes people unhappy. And I know that we're going to be talking about relationship services in particular. And one of the things that I used to ask the managers that worked for me when they were meeting customers, one of the first questions they should ask is, how happy are you with the service at the moment? And I can remember the first time I said it to a group of managers for some of the branches that I was responsible for. And one of the guys said, oh, I'll never ask that question. It could bring about, it could release a whole can of worms, which is an English expression to say we've got all kinds of wriggly things that you wouldn't be able to deal with very well. But that's surely the whole point. If the customer has lots of things that they're not happy with, are they likely to buy more things from you? I wouldn't buy things from an organization that I didn't trust 100% and that I was unhappy with the service. So we really need to get rid of these issues if we want our customers to trust us, if we want our customers to recommend us to other people, if we want our customers to be advocates for our service and to take other products and services from us to meet their needs, the needs that we can satisfy for them. So customer service can be used as a framework to look at all aspects of your business. In terms of the image and presentation, I was doing this in Ethiopia 3 or 4 years ago, and you just can't imagine how untidy the branches were. There was rubbish everywhere. There were signs hanging off, stuck up with sellotape, stuck up with blue tack. And these people just walked past this every day, the staff, and didn't even notice what a tip it was. But the problem with the appearance was that if somewhere looks scruffy, again, it gives a really negative impression to the client. So get into the habit of trying to look at the place, not as the place where you live and work, but as a place that customers come in and notice. So, as I say, it's important for the image, it's important for promotion of services, it's important in terms of contacts and communication with customers, it's important for service delivery, for monitoring, improving services, for resolving customer problems, and for customer relationship management. key to customer service is creating a culture of customer satisfaction. So what is the culture within your office, within your organization? Is it a service culture? Is it a customer delight culture? Or is it, as some of the places where I've been to, where I go in and I have to stand for a while while I wait for somebody to get off the phone because they're busy tweeting or doing something on TikTok or watching YouTube or something. What kind of service are you giving? What first impressions are you giving? What is the culture? Again, in Ethiopia, strangely enough, some of my worst service stories are from Ethiopia. I visited a lot of cities in Ethiopia doing training courses, and the regional director of one of the areas came to talk to me and talk to the staff. It was all his branch managers. And because I was talking about service, he said, "Oh, please will you come and look at some of my branches? I'd love you to see my branches." So he's really proud of his branches, which is great. So he took me one lunchtime to look at his branch, and he went in and he was the big man. He was so happy. Everybody recognized him, of course. And then he's got this white guy, and everybody's looking at me curiously, who's the regional manager got with him today. And we walked through all this rubbish strewn over the banking floor. We walked through the counter screens, which were covered in all kinds of sellotape and a mess. And he was totally oblivious to all of this, but he was introducing me to different people. And just by the desk where I was standing, the telephone was ringing. And it was going dring, 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 dring. And he was, this is Mr. Hill, and he comes from England, and he's here to see about our service. And nobody thought, there was not one person amongst those people there, including the regional director, that thought, oh my God, the telephone's ringing. That's a customer. I should answer the phone. And it was killing me because I come from a culture where service is paramount, and all my staff had to answer the telephone, or a telephone had to be answered within 4 rings. And it was killing me that this phone was ringing, ringing, ringing. This could have been the managing director of the biggest client for all anybody knew, but nobody was taking any notice because the regional director was talking to people. And this is the point. What's the culture? How are people behaving? How do they believe that they're expected to behave in terms of delivering service? Well, we can encourage a culture by creating a customer charter or code of practice. So you actually share this with the clients. We will give you contact details. We will meet you. If you talk about business customer, we will meet you once a month or once a year or whatever it is. You actually have a code which the customers have given expectations, but also the staff are told of the minimum service levels which they're expected to carry out at all times. So one of the things that's really important to do is to benchmark your activities against other organizations, your competitors, but again, thinking not just being as good as the competitors, but being better, because the reason that I choose to go to particular hotels and to particular restaurants is because that they're better than everybody else, not because they're as good as other people. But then we create and monitor specific measures of customer satisfaction. So I regularly gave people feedback on good service that I noticed and also disappointing service, so that I could help to improve service. So please be ready to give staff that are working for you congratulations if they do something good, but also a reminder if they're giving less than the service standard which you're expecting. Because people, if you're a manager, people will do the things that you inspect. So a phrase that I regularly use is, if you don't inspect it, don't expect it. if you don't inspect service, if you don't inspect the standards that you have agreed, if you haven't got customer service standards, don't expect good customer service. That's the truth of the whole of this. So creating the standards, creating the measurements and monitoring them is really, really important. So service is, customers in a restaurant want more than a meal. We want a good environment. We want, some people like quiet. It depends what kind of meal you're going for. Are you going for a celebration? Are you going for a romantic evening? Are you taking your children out? Are you taking your parents out? What are you doing? Because you might go to different restaurants for different kinds of meals, but you would want different kinds of atmospheres, for example. But customers definitely expect more than the food when they go to a restaurant. They expect a minimum level of appearance, of behavior from the staff, and speed of service as well. Guests in hotels want more than a room. And that's absolutely for sure. Guests in a transaction want more than a settlement. They want it to be done speedily. They want it to be done safely, with integrity. Customers, those have repeated for some reason. I'm sorry about that. I don't know how that's happened. I'm supposed to check that. But the last point is there. Customers want more than just a product or a service that is offered. They also want to be treated well. This is a survey of what chief executives were thinking about with customer centricity. Should an organization be focused on clients? And in red is the percentage of chief executives worldwide that believe customer centricity is essential for business growth. And then in blue, it's the percentage of customers who think that their bank is customer centric. So here we are. This is chief executives of banks worldwide, and 91% of them, not surprisingly, thought that customer centricity, putting the customer at the center of everything that you do, is really important. But this message hasn't got down to the staff, because you can see the different levels over there of compliance with that, where customers think that their bank treats them as the center of their universe. And the numbers are very low, aren't they? Very disappointingly low. Very disappointingly low. So what can we do about it? What can we do to make it better? What can you do about it in your organization? If you don't, I know not everybody works for a bank, that's fine. But what can you do in your organization to improve this situation so that you can match the expectations of the client, but also the expectations of your chief executive officers? Customer service is important because of future growth. We need to be getting more customers. Customers will only come to your organization if you're offering a good service. But customer acquisition leads to branch growth. Your branch becomes bigger, stronger. It means greater investment, better equipment, better standards. But customer management, how do we manage the customers that we already have, is also equally important as well. So getting new customers, vital, but looking after the customers that we already have is equally important.
Hi, Mike. Do you mind if I interject?
Please, I'm glad that you did.
I have a question for you. In your opinion, who's more important, the customer or the employee, especially in regards to customer experience?
Wow, that's a very good question, because I guess from my point of view as kind of the boss, they're equally important because I can't run my business without the staff, but I can't run my business without the customers too. So I think they're probably equally important. And we're going to talk a lot about staff behaviours and what we can do to improve staff behaviours. But it's all it's all designed, first of all, to give staff a greater sense of satisfaction, a greater sense of personal achievement. If you look at Maslow's pyramid, we're not going to talk about motivation today, but if you look at the main motivational factors, a sense of achievement, a sense of feeling worthwhile, all of these things can come from giving great service, providing good service to in the business, and getting great feedback from our customers. So by training our staff, by helping our staff, we can help them to help themselves, but we can also help them to help the customers.
Right. Are you familiar with Simon Sinek? Because he speaks a lot on this as well.
Simon, who did you say?
Simon Sinek.
Can you just spell the name for me? I don't think I know that name.
S-I-N-E-K, Simon Sinek.
No, I haven't seen that name. Thank you for that.
Yeah, he talks a lot about customer experience, and he shared a story with his experience going to the Four Seasons with, I guess, a fully engaged employee who then translate that on to the customer. So that's why I kind of asked.
Well, can I
just something?
Oh.
Sure.
Based on everyone in here, I'm probably the only one that I've worked in the tourism and hospitality industry for 20 years. And in my experience, especially changing owners, the biggest mistake that they make is differentiating the staff. I think the staff is their customer, the owner's customer. So there's internal and there's external. I think if owners of businesses start looking at that and really appreciating their human capital, you'll find that your customer experience will increase. You will get utility, which is optimal satisfaction from both sides. You take care of your staff, I promise you, that will transcend on or pass on to your customers. A happy staff, happy customers, trust me.
Absolutely. Katura, I totally agree with you. And it was interesting because I told you we won this service award for 2 years. And initially, when we introduced these new standards, it was a whole new set of guidelines and instructions and behaviors, and it took time to train people to do it. But then getting different departments to work with each other was sometimes quite a challenge, because I found quite often that one department would say, oh, we would be fine except the bookkeeping department are letting us down. And then you talk to the bookkeeping department and say, well, what seems to be happening between you and this branch? And they say, oh, these people are always late. They're always sending us the information at the wrong time. And there's usually two sides to a story with the staff. But unless the staff are happy, and unless you can eliminate these kind of issues, you will have problems. So yes, you're right, Katura, but even in terms of getting different departments to be happy with each other is also important as well. So I totally agree with what you say. I'm just kind of hopefully adding to something that you've said as well, because I absolutely 100% believe with you, agree with you. A happy staff can, not always, can provide good customer service. Sometimes the staff can be really happy because they're always going out for meals and having a great time, but give lousy service. So you do need service standards. You need people to understand what is expected of them, but happy staff are far more likely to then deliver what you want them to deliver, and taking account of what they say as well, because quite often we can say, oh, we think it would be good if you do this and that, and then the staff say, actually, that's not working so well, let's try this instead. And we can, if we involve the staff in this, if we get their opinions, if we get their buy-in, get their belief, we can actually enhance what we're trying to do. So I've never tried to lead by telling. I've always tried to lead by involving, getting everybody involved in the team so that we can so that we can develop together. But yeah, thank you for that, Sikachura. I totally agree that you're right with that. Anybody else got anything to say before I move on? Okay, let me bring this back up then. Here we go. So here's the kind of experience gap between what a bank is promising potentially and the customer experience, what they're actually receiving. And there's an experience gap. And that was confirmed by that previous slide, this one here, where we were trying to give one thing, supposedly, but the customers felt that they were receiving something else. I guess in your part of the world, you'll have heard of Disney World in Florida. So if I don't need to show you all of this stuff. Okay, so I'm just checking. There was sound with that, but no voices. You could hear the sound. Is that right?
Yes.
Great. I'm glad about that. I've got a voice video in a little while. I just wanted to double check. I did check the sound, the sharing sound at the very beginning, but sometimes it goes off when I'm talking or doing something else. But I read a book a few years ago called The Disney Principles, which I tried to introduce into my branch, my area. And it's only 3 years ago since I last went to Disney. I took my kids when they were 10 and 8. This was in 1990, so that's quite a long time ago. But I went with my grandchildren and my son and his family, that is, and my wife in 2018. And this is an expensive place to go. Even parking for a day is $20, or it was in 2018. And then the ticket to get in just for one day is expensive, but lots and lots of people go there because of the expectation of the service that you're going to get. And as a granddad, I take my grandchildren during school holidays when parents are working to theme parks in this country, but there's nowhere can match Disney. Nobody charges the same price as Disney, by the way, but nobody matches Disney in terms of the appearance, in terms of the service. And the book was based on 7 principles, which are quite interesting. I'd like to share those with you now. The first one is pay fantastic attention to detail. So just to give you one example of paying fantastic attention to detail, they have a maintenance crew that goes around the Disney every single night when everybody's gone home, and they know the places where there's high traffic, and they paint those places again. They fix any chips, they fix any breaks. The staff also have the opportunity to send maintenance requests to the team, and they spend all night making it look like new. So I'm paying a lot of money to go into this place, and it looks like the first day that it was opened. It looks like new. And how many places that you go to, restaurants and that kind of thing, do you have that kind of experience? I can remember when my son got married, and it was only, it wasn't so long after I'd started introducing this pay fantastic attention to detail. And he'd chosen probably one of the most expensive places in Manchester, which is near where I live, to go. It was a very expensive place, but there was wallpaper a little bit hanging off the walls, and it just looked sad and needed some attention, needed some maintenance. And they certainly weren't paying fantastic attention to detail, even though they were charging a premium price. Everyone walks the talk. And I think you know what walks the talk is. We've got certain culture, we've got certain behaviors. Everyone walks the talk. Now, this is definitely true in Florida, in the Disney that I went to in Florida. It's definitely not true in Paris, the Disney in Paris. They've really got some work to do, or at least they had a few years ago. I confess it's a few years since I took my kids there, but the difference in the behavior of the French people to the American people in terms of walking the talk and giving great customer service is totally extraordinary. Just to give you one simple example, we'd gone with some friends to Disney Paris, Euro Disney, and the little boy that we were with, it was his 10th birthday while we were there. So my wife tried to buy a birthday card, and she queued for ages to buy this card. She had the card in her hand, and she got to the front of the till, and the French guy held up his hand and said, "Fan," in other words, end. And he just went, and he just left her. There was nobody taking over, so she had to join another queue. And that would never have happened in Florida. So this wasn't everybody walking Walt Disney's talk, believe me. Everything walks the talk. So the whole appearance of the place, the fact that we have paid attention to detail, everything is giving the image, the impression, the image that we want to give. Oh, that has run off the edge. Customers are best heard through many ears. That means that the staff have the opportunity to give feedback wherever they wherever they are in the park. And again, quoting the book, they talked about the fact that staff who are working in a particular area of the theme park, if people are asking them during the day, where's the nearest hot dog stand or where's the nearest drink stand, they feed that back, because if they're being asked that a lot, there's obviously need for some other kind of refreshments in that area. So we should be responding to customers' needs. And this is what they're doing all the time in Disney. It's extraordinary, it really is. The competition is anyone the customer compares you to. So this isn't just other banks if you're in a bank, or travel agents if you're in the travel business, or hotels if you're in the hotel business. They may compare your telephone answering with any other kind of organization. They may, if you're in a restaurant, the way that you speak to people, they're not necessarily comparing you only with other restaurants, they're comparing you with other types of service industry as well. So don't forget that. The competition isn't just other banks or other travel companies or whatever area you're working in. It's anyone the customer is comparing you to. Reward, recognize, and celebrate. I say this on every motivational course which I give. People respond to rewarding and recognizing. And the simple truth is that it's likely that for every time you're rewarded or thanked, somebody will complain to you 5 times. So it's a ratio of about 5 in 1. People complain to you far more than, this is work, not customers, this is work. People will complain to you far more than they will thank you. And does that mean that 90% of the time you're doing something wrong? Probably not. It simply means that most cultures forget about this really important thing of rewarding, recognizing, and celebrating. But it's a key element of motivation. We operate much better if we're happy, and part of being happy is feeling that you're achieving something, and part of achieving something is being recognized for doing a good job. So don't forget to thank the people that are working for you. And don't just do it glibly, spot them doing something good and thank them for it. And here's a nice one. And it says, everyone makes a difference. And this is spelt obviously incorrectly. And one letter on the keyboard is wrong. Now just imagine how many keys there are on a standard keyboard. There are, is it about 40 or 50 keys? But one key on the keyboard is wrong and it screwed up the whole thing. The letter E is wrong here, but it's made a difference. And this is the truth. You could have many of your staff giving great service, but if you just got one person messing up, it can spoil it for everybody else because they're giving you a bad reputation. There are occasions when people come into your organization and they're giving bad service. Like this. So I like that video because I've in quite a few years of management and leadership, I've had quite a few of those people who are on that cart, and you've really got to do something about those people, otherwise they can really not just mess up the teamwork, which is what that's focused on particularly, but it messes up the experience of your customers as well. So but just think for a few moments about what are the customer service quality expectations in your organization? What do you think? Do you know? Do you actually know what they want? What are your organization's service quality standards? Do you have them? How important is customer loyalty? Do you know who are your loyal customers and who are your not so loyal customers? How can we actually delight customers? How do your customers rate your service at the moment? And how does your service compare with your competitors? It's really interesting, and it's important to know this. We have an organization in the United Kingdom called Which, and it's a consumer organization, and they do surveys all the time. I actually pay, I can't remember, it's about £9 a month or something like that. And they've got an amazing website. I can check out the best TVs, the best cars, the best hotels, the best holidays, you name it. They do service quality standards on it. And Which did a survey, does a survey on banking every year. And Barclays, the bank that I work for, came quite low. And I can remember this survey coming out, and the head office responding to the press questions about it and saying, "Oh, this doesn't match up with our internal scoring." No, it's not. It's I don't know. They said it was wrong in some way. So okay, it was kind of dismissed, but there was reminders. Please make sure everybody that you're giving good service. The following year, exactly the same thing happened again. I think Barclays came quite low in this table, and this is when they introduced the Customer First program, which I was talking about. But one of the things that they discovered was when they actually surveyed clients again, they decided to ask some different questions. And instead of saying to customers, "Are you satisfied with the service?" they actually said, "Would you recommend us to other people?" And quite often the clients said no. And they said, "Why? Why wouldn't you recommend us to other people?" "Oh, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, loads of different reasons why they wouldn't recommend us to other people." "So why did you originally say that you were satisfied with the service?" "Oh, well, we didn't expect anything more. You're a bank. We didn't expect you to give good service. So we had low expectations and you just about met our low expectations." Now, clearly that isn't what we wanted, and that wasn't what we were hoping to learn from the survey that we did. So one of the key questions that I'm asking you today is, have you asked the right question? Have you actually drilled down? Do you actually know truthfully, would the customer recommend you to other people? What are the things that they really like about your service? What are the things that, even though they like your service, they think you could improve? Because there will be some things, believe me. And what are you doing about it? So anybody, has anybody done any of this work? Anybody like to comment on this? Because this is a big issue, actually. Let me bring you all up again. Do you actually have a clear idea of what the clients expect from you? Or is it what the bosses have told you the clients expect from you? Interesting.
Hi, Mike.
Oh, hi, please.
At the organization for
again. Thank you, Maud.
We have, I don't like talking, but since there's complete silence, I'll break the silence. But with our bank, we have our minimum service standards.
Great.
We have that published on our website. And we also have pamphlets that we handle to the customers. So it is visible. So both employees and customers knows the expectation of the service that is to be provided to the customers.
That's great. And
we are held accountable by those minimum service standards.
Okay, that's great. Do you ever, are you in a situation where you talk to clients, Maud?
Yes.
Do you ever actually say to them, how happy are you with the service or something like that?
Well, I deal with customer compliments and customer complaints.
Oh, do you? Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
So I receive both. And in receiving both, especially the complaints, I'm always happy to receive them because there I get to learn the areas we need improvement on and to improve our service to the customers.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. I have to say, I used to sometimes, as a manager and even as a director, complaints came to me because people were really unhappy. But if you can turn around a complaint, I actually found that some of the people who complained the most, because they were happy with me, they became lifelong customers, they became lifelong friends. So you can actually, it is possible to recover service. And later in the course, I'm going to talk about service recovery because this is what I guess this is what you're doing a lot of the time, Maud. You're recovering service and hopefully getting with the client to the state where their
confidence is restored.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the big issues that you and I both have, Maud, is that when we sort out a client problem, if the system behind that is wrong and they experience the same thing next month and the same thing the month after, even though we put it right, if we haven't resolved the underlying problem, the reason why it went wrong in the first place, the customers then become very unhappy. So it isn't just resolving the complaints, it's stopping it happening again, which is also equally important.
Exactly. And that's where we addressed training needs.
Absolutely. That's great. Good stuff. Thank you. And thank you for joining in. I would be really glad if anybody else would help Maud out. But I'm very glad that you're joining in, Maud. Thank you.
Mr. Hill?
Yes, please. Let me bring up the screen in.
I work for the government.
Oh, wow.
And I think here it is expected to not receive good customer service because that has been the practice here. And no matter how much you complain, most of the time there's really nothing done about it. Right. So it's just expected.
And that's with the government, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
When the customer comes in, they don't expect good customer service from us.
Yeah.
And even if they complain to the manager of the department, most times they don't receive any results, and sometimes they get a negative feedback from the management as well.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
So at the moment, you couldn't, I guess what you're saying is your organization isn't giving great service, and there doesn't seem to be anybody who cares so much about it because you're the government rather than the
private sector.
Exactly. The client doesn't have any choice but to deal with you because you're the government.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be giving good service, but yeah, it must be very frustrating.
Yes, it is. Even for us who work in the government, dealing with other departments as well, we still face the same thing.
Really?
Because we don't network like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So even internal service is bad. So other departments aren't helping you.
Yes. Right.
So that really is a cultural issue then, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
There isn't a kind of a cultural, why are we here? We should be giving good service. Yeah. That's unfortunately, that's a root and branch change that needs to happen there, unfortunately, Shanika.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Hi, of course, Tama.
I'm Shakira. I work for a private company, and it's kind of the reverse. We cater to our customers, and we make our customers, we put them on a very high level of, like we terminate employees if our customers are dissatisfied. Our motto is customers pay our salaries. So therefore we cater to our customers. In some instances, the customer is wrong And unfortunately, our employee is dismissed because the customer, you know, they value the opinions and you know, I guess they value our customers more than they value the staff in most instances. Okay. But like I said, our company's motto is the customer pays our salary. So
absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I'm a bit worried about you terminating people.
Yeah, we kind of, in some cases, they're I think unfairly dismissed.
Oh, really?
Okay. There are customers who sometimes I don't know how to say, I don't want to say rude, but we have some customers who are difficult. And,
yeah, of course.
And they come in there, I feel they come in there to create a problem.
Sure.
And, you know, like I said, our management, they're drilled to whatever the customers say, whatever the customer want, we adhere to that.
Okay.
And therefore, you know, the staff is unfortunately dismissed.
Okay, well, I have to say, I don't think that's right either. And yeah. I have to say, there are occasions when the customer isn't always right. From my own experience, I know that to be the case. And sometimes we need to educate the customers. So terminating staff when a customer is behaving outrageously is actually not fair. I've just to put some balance to this discussion. I'm obviously in an English branch, but I had a girl who worked for me who came from Pakistan, and we have some people, unfortunately, in our country who can be racially abusive. And this guy came in, and apparently on more than one occasion he'd been racially abusive to her. And I got him into my office and said, "I'm sorry, but you just can't. It's unacceptable that you behave in that way." And he started being rude to me. So in the end, even though I truly believe in good customer service, I actually asked him to close his account. And he really wasn't happy about that. He wrote to the local newspaper, he threatened me with all kinds of terrible things. But I believe that I was right on that occasion. So, you know, just we don't always have to say that the customer is right, because they aren't always right, but it doesn't mean that we can't give them good service, even in all circumstances. So I can see, Shakira, why you're concerned about that kind of culture in your organization as well. I can see that some. Oh, sorry, go on, Shakira.
Sorry, how in a situation like that, how do you educate a customer? Like I said, I work for a major retail food store company.
Okay.
And so, I mean, how they train our line staff, if you have an unruly customer or a disgruntled customer, you know, and you trying to kind of deal with them, and it's impossible. Their job is to step to the side and let a manager deal with it, but we will never tell the customer not to come back and shop with us.
Sure.
So it's kind of a kind of complicated situation. Like,
absolutely.
How do you get the customer to understand, like, or adjust their attitude, I guess.
Sure.
Can I interject? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, it's okay. I was just going to say, later in the course, we're actually going to talk about service recovery and dealing with unhappy customers and how you can turn things around. But Katura, please say what you were going to say.
I just wanted to say that a lot of times you can change a customer. Like, for the most part, these people want to be heard, and that's where emotional intelligence coming in, being able to read people. Sometimes they just want to be heard, and for you to say, "I am sorry."
Absolutely.
At times, because of lack of training, and we have people in position, there's a lot of nepotism in the Bahamas, not meritocracy, where people come in who are actually qualified to be managers and leaders, but because their friend promoted them, some of them don't even know how to manage. And so they can't deal with customer relations because they lack the ability to. Sometimes that customer just wants you to say, "Hey, I am sorry. What can we do to make you feel better?" Not to say, "Hey, you are right."
Absolutely.
Hey, that customer is always right thing. I work in the casino, which is a tough position to be in, because you're taking someone's money And there's no way to say I'm sorry for that. But they just want to feel special. Yeah, you're taking my money, but they want you to make them feel like, hey, I am appreciated.
Absolutely.
So when you step into a situation when there's an irate customer, you don't come in trying to change the customer. You just come in to try and diffuse the situation and to do whatever you can. Offer them comms, do whatever you can to just calm them down a bit. But for the most part, from my experience, they just want to be heard and to be told, hey, I'm sorry, and move on. Just try and get out of the situation quickly.
Katura, you're absolutely right. I've written some customer complaint handling guidelines, and the first sentence says, apologize to the customer. Because that word sorry, even if the customer isn't necessarily right, that word sorry diffuses the situation. So you might not say, I'm sorry for this mistake. You might say, I'm sorry that you're feeling like this, because they might be wrong. But the word sorry is a really important thing. So I 100% agree with you. It's something that I'm actually going to say later in the course, or I was going to, but hopefully I won't repeat it later in the course. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a very interesting. I've never had somebody who comes from a casino before on the course. So there's a really interesting mix this time. I'm really pleased about that. Tema, please.
Hi, Mr. Hill. Yes,
Hi.
I'd like to add to what Katura said in reference to clients wanting to be heard. I think that's the biggest part of client recovery. Listening to the client, acknowledging, like you said, how they feel and what they experience. Most times in my experience in customer service, we may not have the answer on the onset. You may not have the ability to fix the problem right there and then, but what really helps is acknowledging the client and then also being very responsive, because they expect you to, if you're going to listen to me and acknowledge this, and expect some kind of result. So what has worked with me, even if you can't get it done in a specified period of time, just always keeping the client engaged, always being responsive, letting them know where you're at in the process. At least you're able to retain that client. At the end of the day, like you said, customer service is spread across a large market, not just banking or a food store or a law firm or a casino. They expect customer service no matter where they go, and they rate you accordingly. So how you interact, how you handle the situation is really important, and it also, determines whether they continue doing business with you or go across the street to another competitor.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and it's interesting. A few of you have said it now, but you're absolutely right. The customer, one of the thoughts that the customer has in their mind when they come into your organization, in most cases, I don't say everybody's like this, but in most cases, people will come in and think to themselves, I am important. Treat me like somebody, don't just treat me like I don't matter. I'm important. And it's really important that people within your organization understand that. Treat people in that way, rather than dismiss them, rather than ignore them, rather than refuse to listen to them. So these are the skills that we're going to be talking about during these 3 sessions in total. Thank you for these contributions. It's really interesting. I'm glad that you're joining in. So who are your customers? You've got, I guess these days, other than the casinos so far, I guess, you might have online customers. There will be different ages, different profiles, different genders. They might connect with you through social media. They might come in person. All kinds of different customers interacting with you in all kinds of different ways. Remember, it's the customer's views of service that count, not our own. I've said this already, but I just want to repeat that because it's such an important thing. Now,
hi, I've been trying to get in touch with your office to return these, but nobody seems to be answering the phone.
Have you tried emailing us?
Yes, I have emailed.
Okay, well, that's all you can do. You have to email it through and someone will get back to you when they can.
And what would be the time frame that
well,
they're meant
it's
to get
up
back
to them.
you?
That's not in my department. I can't help you. You need to do it online.
So is there someone that you might be able to ask that would be able to assist?
Can't help you. It's all done online within our online team. I don't know what more you want me to do.
Is there, maybe you could ask somebody if they could help with this?
Well, no, because I'm the only one here and I haven't had lunch and I can't leave. So you're just going to have to go back online, wait for someone to call you and go from there. This isn't my area. If you want to buy something, I can help you.
Okay, this is terrible customer service. Is there not a manager or someone that I could talk to?
We do have an online chat room that you can lodge a dispute with, but I don't have anyone here that you can speak with.
Okay, well, I'll need to follow this up with someone then. Thank you for not being helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
It kills me that she breaks so many rules in that. This isn't my job. I haven't had my lunch yet. I'm busy. I can't help you. Those are all the wrong phrases to use in this kind of situation or any kind of service situation.
That's not a problem. Have a lovely day. Bye. Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm just wondering if I could return this, please. I've bought one for my husband on the weekend and he's already received it. So is there possible that I could get a refund for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Had you lodged something online yet?
I did, but nobody seems to have gotten back to me yet, so I thought I'd just pop into the office.
Okay, sorry about that. Usually our turnaround is 24 hours, but I can definitely help you with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just look up some of your details here. What was your name?
Cherie Montgomery.
Perfect. I can see you purchased that on the weekend with a credit card. And would you like that refund back onto the credit card?
That would be wonderful.
Wonderful. I can take care of that from here and you'll receive that within 10 business days. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's been wonderful. Thank you.
Perfect. Have a great day.
Bye.
This is actually so easy. But the girl needed to be empowered to be able to do that. I mean, it wasn't all her fault. She didn't have the authority, the tools to be able to do that. So that's a kind of a service issue that she had in the first segment. But because of the situation that she'd been put into, she said all the wrong things. The customer obviously went away happy in the second situation, but it's as simple as that. You can break all the rules like happened in the first, and as I say, it wasn't all her fault because she didn't have the authority to do those things. She didn't have the access to the computer to be able to do it. So the actual way that the organization had been set up in the first example was a nightmare because there she was in a customer-facing role and she couldn't help a customer in that situation, which was dreadful. The second, it was just so simple. And we have I don't know if you have or heard of Marks and Spencer's in Bahamas, but we have a chain store of shops called Marks and Spencer's, and they're like that. If you take something back, you don't have to give a reason why, as long as you take it back within, I think it's 28 days, which is quite a long time, and it's in the condition that it was sold to you in, they will take it back, no questions asked, and money put straight back into your bank account. So, this isn't difficult, but you need to have the service systems within your organization, and you need to be able to, all your staff need to be able to follow the rules. So then we got a customer satisfaction model, which starts from the bottom. And the bottom one is meet basic service requirements. That's the minimum standard. And that helps to prevent customer complaints. Satisfy customer needs. That means you're developing customer confidence and achieve customer delight. If you're delighting customers, you're going to build loyalty. And as I said earlier, I tend to use the same 2 airlines. I tend to use the same 2 hotel groups, depending on where I'm going, which one is operating there, because they generally, not 100%, I don't suppose, but they generally are the organization that time and time again, their staff have the ability to repeat the same level of good service to me. And sometimes I've traveled, the longest journey I've ever had was 54 hours coming home from Indonesia. And believe me, if you've left the hotel more than 54 hours ago and you're still traveling 54 hours later, your patience can be less than 100%. On the other hand, I've seen terrible customer behavior in airline queues. I was once coming home from Shanghai and we were delayed by several hours because it had snowed, and they're not really used to snow in Shanghai. And there was only a sprinkling of snow, but they didn't have the equipment there to de-ice the planes. So the plane was delayed by several hours. And this particular plane actually had to stop at Beijing to pick up more customers before we flew on to Istanbul. I was with Turkish Airlines, one of my two favorite airlines. And when we got off, we were told that we wouldn't be getting them back on because the staff had exceeded their time. Now, that's an international law. Nobody can do anything about that. But one or two of the customers were totally and utterly freaking out at the customer service staff, the ground staff. And it's just so unfair and so pointless. So that was absolutely bad, unfair behavior. But, you know, that happens sometimes when people are under stress, when people have been up all night, when people just want to get home. So I think we've got to sometimes take it on the chin and say, okay, this person hasn't behaved very well, but maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe they're in a very stressful situation themselves, and just handle it as the staff did, I have to say, in that situation. They handled it very well. They didn't get angry. They didn't rise to the fact that the customers were being unfair to them. And I thought they did a really good job. They put us in a very nice hotel for about 5 hours. We had a very nice breakfast, and then they picked us up again and got us back on the plane as soon as the staff had matched the time rules. I think we were only delayed in Beijing for about 6 hours or something like that, which wasn't ideal, but it was okay. And it wasn't their fault. That was the point. So customer centricity, what is that? That's the customer is the center of everything we do. I mentioned this a little while ago, but we're thinking about customer facing functions are all sharing this culture. But it isn't just the customer facing people, it's the operations management, it's the senior management. This goes as far as the CEO. Everybody should have the same culture. This culture should come from the top. One of my jobs many years ago, I was an auditor in the bank, and I used to visit all the local branches, and I used to be astonished by the level of different service that was offered in different places. And one of my briefs was to comment on customer service that I observed. But it was very interesting to me that if you had an unfriendly, unhelpful manager, you tended to have less friendly and less helpful staff. And I'm not saying that all the staff were unfriendly and unhelpful like the manager, but it did seem to be that where the managers were very personable and cared a lot about service, in those situations, the service at the branch was better. So managers, if you are a manager, look to your own behavior, because people are watching what you do, and people are doing the things that you inspect. So as I said it earlier on, people do or care about the things that you inspect. So if you don't inspect it, don't expect it. That's a big rule of mine. So the importance of good customer service. Good customer service goes far beyond making that one sale to a customer. Here are 4 reasons why good customer service will increase your business, and bad customer service can put you out of business. First of all, making and increasing the sale. return visits by customer, word of mouth advertising, and controlling shrink. Shrink is losing customers, people switching to another organization because of service. But service is intangible. It isn't something you can touch. So the intangibles deal with the human side of the organization. They include behaviors, emotions, understandings, feelings, and perceptions. So it's all these kind of intangible things. It's can be difficult to define immediately. You need time to think about these service expectations, these behaviors, the way that people are expected to behave. And bear in mind the people that work with you or the people that work for you, they've got all kinds of different backgrounds, they've got all kinds of different life experiences, and you need to get them to share your beliefs. You need them to move beyond their own personal experience and actually buy into your company culture. So defining your company culture and having a service culture is the root of all this. Actually having this as a belief system, having this as a fundamental reason for coming to work, to give great service, and everybody knowing what great service looks like. So examples of customer service: satisfaction, attentiveness, flow, not big delays in the organization, helpfulness, a sense that if you ask somebody something, they're going to want to be helpful to you, sensitivity, tone, the tone of voice that you use, the kind of attitude, the knowledge that you share, the understanding that you have of their situation and their reasons for being in the organization, the tact that you use, and the guidance that they might be able to give you. So those are some of these intangible things that you're thinking about. But there's probably two dimensions to service. There's the procedural dimension. What are your procedures? Are the procedures efficient? So these established systems that you have, how do they work? Do they work well? Could they be improved? How could they be improved? What are you doing about it? But then there's the personal dimension. How are you actually operating those systems? What attitudes, behaviors are you demonstrating when you're interacting with customers? So then we've got these different dimensions, and we've got the freezer, we've got the factory, we've got the friendly zoo, and we've got the quality customer service. So let's look at the different ones. The freezer is low in both personal and procedural service. In other words, we don't care. On the other hand, the friendly zoo is the bad in procedural service, good in personal service. So the motto is we're trying hard, but we don't really know what we're doing. So they've got bad procedures, but they've got good attitude. The factory, they've got good procedures, but bad personal service. So in other words, you're a number, we're here to process you. So they're good at procedures here, but bad at these behaviors. And then the quality customer service is excellent in both. So we've got the procedures operationally good, and we've got the behaviors operationally good as well. And our motto in quality customer service is we care and we deliver. So we care, we show that we care in our behaviors, but we actually deliver in the way that we actually are, in the way that our procedures actually work. It's a two-part thing. So key elements of quality service. Reliability, it's tangible, you give assurance, you show empathy, and you show responsiveness. So what's reliability? Reliability is the ability to provide what was promised dependably and accurately. So your action strategy should be make sure that you correctly identify the customer needs, promise only what you can deliver, and follow through to ensure that the product or the service was received as promised. So That's being reliable, doing what you say you're going to do. We have an organization in this company, and they sell do-it-yourself products, paints and those kind of things. And their motto is service, we do what it says on the tin. If we say we'll do it, we'll do it. Assurance. The knowledge and courtesy of employees and their ability to convey trust and confidence. So how knowledgeable are you or your staff? How courteous are you and your staff? And how able are you to convey this trust and confidence to your clients? So an action strategy for that is to take the time to serve customers one at a time, provide service assertively by using positive communication techniques and describing products and services accurately. So do you have good product knowledge? Do you have good communication skills? So now we've got people who, customers who can see that you're reliable. They're reassured by the way that you behave. These are tangible things. So the physical facilities and equipment and the appearance of the personnel. So this is the everything walks the talk thing that I was talking about with Disney earlier. And here's some action strategies for that. Maintain workspaces in neat, orderly manner, dress professionally, maintain excellent grooming and hygiene standards. Empathy. So this is a word that we use a lot, and we could talk for half an hour about empathy if you wanted to, but empathy is the degree of caring and individual attention that you provide to customers. And we talk about emotional intelligence and having empathy to people. And some people are very good at this, and some people are not empathetic at all. But you really need to make sure that your staff understand what empathy is and that they're able to be empathetic when they're dealing with customers. And what empathy is, or what an action strategy for that is, listening for emotions in your customers' messages, putting yourself in their place and responding compassionately by offering service to address their needs and concerns. But saying something like, oh, I understand how you feel, but genuinely meaning it, actually genuinely feeling the person's pain or the person's distress, and acting in a way that shows that you behave, that you understand. Or empathy, if somebody's excited about something, somebody's delighted about something, share their delight. They've just booked a holiday, they're announced, they've just got engaged to be married, or they've just passed an exam. Share the delight in that. It isn't always about empathy isn't always about unhappiness. Empathy can be about happiness also, but joining in with the feeling, recognizing the feeling and kind of mirroring the feeling. Responsiveness. That's a willingness to help customers and provide prompt services. And an action strategy for that is project a positive can-do attitude, take immediate steps to help customers and to satisfy their needs. So then we've got culture components. So we've got the delivery system, we've got within that, we've got the training, and we've got motivators. These are things we were talking about earlier. In the sense, we've got the service culture, we've got the mission. What is the mission of your organization? Are you a service conscious organization? And what about the products and services? Do they meet the needs of your clients? So you've got on the left hand side your systems, and on the right hand side you've got your employees, the policies and procedures, and the support that you give to your staff. So there's a whole range of things to think about, really, to make sure that this culture at the center works, and that your mission is the right mission for your clients, and that the products and services are meeting their needs in the way that you want them to. So just thinking a little bit more about the service and the mission, the service mission and the products and services. The service mission is the direction or the vision of an organization. that supports day-to-day interaction with customers. What is your mission? Do you have a mission statement? To be the very best that we can be. What is the mission of your organization? The products and services, these are the material, the products, the services that are state-of-the-art, competitively priced and meet the needs of your clients. We've talked earlier about Starbucks. It's one of my favorite places. It's a stupid thing. Not everybody likes Starbucks. I just happen to like it very much. I've been to Starbucks in China. I've been lots. Apparently they open a Starbucks in China, I think it's every 90 minutes. It's a big place and there are lots of Starbucks, believe me. But I like the fact that I can get the same things in Starbucks in China that I can get in England or in America or wherever else. I sometimes like eating, joining in the Chinese culture, but there are just some times when I've been in China for 4 weeks, and I'm often in China for 4 weeks at a time. I just like a little bit of home comfort sometimes, and Starbucks is often where I go to get that. So I have, we also need this delivery system, the way that products and services are delivered, the training, the knowledge and the skills or attempt to influence the employee attitude toward excellent service delivery, and the motivators and the reward, the monetary rewards, the material items of feedback to prompt employees to deliver service and to perform at a high level of effectiveness and efficiency. And believe me, we talk about motivators a lot on other courses, and when I say to people, what motivates you, it usually isn't money. It can be about achievements, it can be about reward, it can be about a pat on the back, it can be about good customer feedback. It's rarely about the bonus. The bonus keeps us on track for sure, and if the bonus isn't fair, it makes people unhappy, but it's less likely to make them give great customer service. So don't forget, I've said it already, but don't forget to give good feedback as well as unfavorable feedback. Are the employee roles and expectations clearly defined? Are there measures indicating expectations of employees in customer interactions, and define how employee service performance will be evaluated? Do you evaluate customer service in the annual performance reviews or the quarterly performance reviews, hopefully? What about your policies and procedures, these guidelines that establish how various situations of transactions will be handled? And what about the management support? Do you give support? Do you answer questions? Do you assist frontline staff in customer interactions when necessary? Do you give them the support that they need? So key skills. Customer service person. The customer service person needs to know the organization. What is the culture? What is the objective of the organization? How many of you know your organization's mission and vision? If I said to each one of you, write it down and share it with you, could you, with us, could you all tell us what your organization's mission and vision is? And do you agree with your organization's mission and vision? And if you don't know what it is, how can you expect the staff that work for you to know it? So I won't ask 10 people now, we haven't got time. It's 25 to 12 in your time, 25 to 5 in my time. I won't ask you each person to tell me what your vision is and your mission is, but if you do know, make sure your staff know. If you don't know, make sure that you find out so that you can be working within the organization. But also, do you and your staff all know about products and services, the features, advantages and benefits of the service? And also, do you know customer expectations? Do you know your customer? So know your organization. I think I've talked about that. Know your products and service. Understand everything about the products, really. Price and delivery, maintenance and care, the whole thing. Know your customer, the needs, the concerns, and customer personalities. And we, in the bank that I work for, worked a lot with life stages, because people at different stages in their life had different needs. Young people at university had different needs than people who are coming up to retirement. There's two obvious examples. So that was in the personal sector, but then in the business sector, small businesses generally had different needs than bigger businesses. Micro businesses had different needs than corporate businesses. So understanding where a business is, and a new business has different needs than a growing business, and a growing business has different needs than a mature business. So do you understand these different life stages of your clients? Are you able to offer the correct support and the correct advice and deal with their concerns at these different stages? And then communicating positively. We'll talk more about communication later, but do you understand the right things, the words and phrases that might damage a relationship? Saying things like, you don't understand, you don't see my point, hold on a second, our policy says or prohibits, that's not my responsibility. What you need to do is, why don't you? Using the word problem, using the word but, using the word no. Those are all phrases that could damage a relationship, using that kind of thing. That girl in the video a little while ago used a lot of those phrases. So that's something about service and experience. As you can see, we're going to talk about communication process later, but I've got a few more things to say about communication, listening skills and questioning skills, a few things like that. But just for the time being, we'll finish on that now and move on to some personal skills. Before I move on, does anybody have anything that they'd like to say?
I have I guess, an observation I've seen in recent years in terms of customer feedback. A lot of customers I've seen would rather not give negative feedback.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. They'd rather either not return as a customer or go somewhere else rather than coming forward and saying, hey, XYZ, and I guess that is kind of reflective of their personality as well. They probably can't receive it. I don't know if you've experienced the same.
Yeah, I agree with you. We actually had a system. If we got any inclination that a customer was going to transfer an account, in a bank, it's a little bit easier, I guess, because we actually realized we got a transfer request form. So somebody was asking to move to another bank. We actually had a procedure, a service recovery procedure, to phone them up and just try and find out what had gone wrong. Why were they transferring to another bank, to see if we could stop them from moving because we could deal with their complaint. And so that was clearly somebody who was dissatisfied. And quite often, as you were saying a moment ago, rather than complain, they just said, oh, forget it, I don't want to deal with these people anymore. So yes, that definitely happens. And trying to understand your customers and trying to work out people who no longer come to you, and important customers, I don't suppose you can do this to everybody. I don't suppose somebody was talking a little while ago about a retail store. I guess it's difficult to track down every single retail outlet customer, food store, and follow them up and say, why don't you come to us anymore? Why do you now go to another store instead? But in situations where you can, I think it's really important that we try and contact customers that we've lost contact with and try and establish. It might be too late to get them to come back, but try and establish what it was that went wrong and try and stop it from happening again. I think that's really important. So yes, thank you for that. That's great that you said that. Anybody else want to say anything?
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Ernst.
Yes, Mike. I wanted to get your take on something.
Please.
Ideally, I know in the corporate framework, we tend to hire persons who are less experienced to work a customer-facing role. And I've always had the mindset that a customer-facing role is one of the most important, if not the most important position in any organization.
Absolutely.
However, for the most part, we tend to hire persons who are fresh out of high school with limited, experience. And like Katura mentioned earlier, it takes a while to build those soft skills.
Absolutely.
So I want to get your take on why is that commonplace and how can we kind of counteract that?
Okay, so it's something that I have found in some organizations. I have to say that organizations that I've worked in recently, and also organizations that I've acted as a consultant for in customer service, it's one of the things that I recommend strongly that they don't do, Ernst, because you're absolutely right. If your frontline staff are totally inexperienced, a bit like the video of the girl, she didn't know what to do, she hadn't been trained properly, she didn't have the system, she didn't have the experience. This is a disaster waiting to happen. So I think it's a huge mistake what you describe, and I, as a consultant, which is what I've been doing now since 2005, it's one of the things I try and get organizations to stop doing. Don't put new hires onto the front line. This is an important role. It should be your experienced people. It should be people who've got knowledge, skills, the soft skills that you mentioned a few moments ago, the soft skills which I've been just listed in the last few minutes. It's people who've got that kind of life ability who should be in these customer facing roles rather than new hires. And it's kind of, I know it's a behavior that lots of organizations do, but I totally agree with you that it's the wrong behavior and it needs to stop really. And as I say, believe me, organizations that I've worked with as a consultant, it's one of the things that I focused on right away. That's one of the, I have things that are stop doing, keep doing, and start doing. And I've got 3 separate lists. And one of the stop doings is hiring new staff. And another thing in a lending role, those of you who work in a bank, some people have said to me, oh, we get the inexperienced people to deal with the small customers. Well, no, the small customers actually have less knowledge than anybody, and they need experienced people too. So putting inexperienced people into a role in a training situation is a big mistake. We need to make sure that customer-facing staff are properly trained and properly supported, and their activities limited. They have a learner plate on or something until they're actually fully trained. And we actually introduced a kind of a customer orientation system where we test people and we give them a license to talk to clients about different products, different services. And until they are trained, until they actually they've passed the test, until they've passed the criteria for that particular service or product, they're not allowed to talk to clients about it. They've got to have somebody else available, and they've got to involve another person straight away. That's really important. So yeah, Ernst, you're right. If your organization's doing that, if you're in a position to get them to stop, get them to stop.
Mr. L, I could add to that. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, please.
I think, I don't know if it's a mistake, but I think organizations, you should, I don't know, as managers, we need to evaluate our staff more. You know, even new hires, from the interview process, from they walk in that office, you know who has the ability for you to just throw them in, and you know who's lacking and who needs more work. It's where evaluating come in. For example, the reason I'm in this course is because on paper, I have a bachelor's degree in economics and finance, but on paper, all of my experience is in the hospitality industry. So I found that when I go to these interviews, they say you lack the experience. I said, well, I have experience in business. I know customer service, and I've been in other areas of the hospitality industry, you know, so I asked the interviewee, I said, well, how do I get this experience? See, one like me, you can throw me in and deal with customers because I've had business, I've led sales teams, you know, so I have an understanding. But if you look on paper, so if you as someone just hiring me, if you throw me in the back, you actually throwing an asset in the back.
Absolutely, and yes, you're right about that as well. I think what Ernst was saying was it was kind of new hires, and what I took him to mean from that, and maybe you didn't do, and I apologize if we've got a kind of different misunderstanding. I was taking this, he was talking about kids from school, really. So yes, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's horses for courses. I was talking about, for sure, I was talking about inexperienced people who didn't have your customer service skills, for sure. So thank you for clarifying that, because yeah, clearly people have different transferable skills, and I definitely I sympathize with you, and my recommendation to you, I guess you've done that if you switched to a different organization, is work out what your transferable skills are, work out how they would be used in the new organization, and give examples of how, even though you haven't actually sold, I don't know, a loan or what have you, the fact that you've done this has given you the questioning skills, it's given you the interaction skills. So you've already got many skills that could be used in that way. So work out the transferable skills that you've got and work out how they are applicable to your new role, and make the person who's interviewing you see how they're applicable and how you can use them. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you.
Okay, so actually time's moving on now. So we're probably getting close to finishing time. Thank you for all your participation. I hope you've enjoyed today. I'll just introduce us to the second session, which is about personal skills, and just tell you what we're going to be talking about. So first of all, first impressions count. The reason I introduced myself at the very beginning was you need an impression of me that I've got knowledge, I've got skills. So I introduced myself to let you know a little bit about me, to let you know a little about, like Katura did, I showed you my experience. So I'm showing you my credibility. The second thing is reliable. Am I reliable? Am I actually delivering on what I implied that I could give at the beginning? So the first impressions are important, but also there's more to it than that. But let's think about that anyway. So personal responsibility, I mentioned earlier about being well-groomed, about being reliable, being mature, being friendly, being punctual. But who has seen this book by Stephen Covey, or who's heard of this book? Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Have you read it?
No, haven't read it, but I've seen it.
Okay. Well, there's some good lessons from this book, and a lot of them are to do with customer service. So I'm going to spend part of next session, and I'll introduce a little bit today. Stephen Covey talks about these 7 habits. The first is to be proactive. The second is to begin with the end in mind. The third is to put first things first. And those are dependence. Once I've mastered those 3 skills, I can move from dependence through to independence. But when I've learned those skills, I then need to learn the next 3 skills, which are thinking win-win, seeking first to understand and then be understood, and to synergize. And those are called public victories. The first 3 are called private victories. Those are internal things. The next 3 are called public victories. And that's when I can move to interdependence. I'm now able to work with other people. And the final area of maturity is sharpening the saw. And that's precisely what you're doing today. You're sharpening the saw, you're improving your skills, I hope, by listening to what you're doing today and listening to the rest of the course. You're sharpening your skills and you're making yourself better. But I believe in lifelong learning. I truly do, honestly. And I know lots of people say that, but if you saw the amount of new reading that I do every week, if you saw the flash that I get from McKinsey and from Harvard and from other business schools, I get all kinds of information, and I squirrel away. Not all of it. I'd be overwhelmed with all of it, but in the areas that I want to excel, I'm looking for new things all of the time. And I often stand in front of a class as somebody with grey hair who looks a little bit older than you guys, and I say, if I can do it, why can't you do it? Or I hope that you can do it too, is probably a better way of saying that, because you're here today. But if I can do it, the people that work for you, they can do it too. So sharpening the saw is fundamental to all of this. You know that because you're on the course. You've taken the, you've been proactive, and you've done something as a proactive thing. You've begun hopefully with the end in mind. You know what you want to achieve from this course, and you're putting first things first. You're managing the time. So we're going to be talking about all of these things in the next session. I will stop now. It's too late to start proactivity. It'll take about 15 minutes or so to cover that session. But just to remind you, Miguel said just for next week, unfortunately, we need to start at 9 o'clock rather than 10 o'clock. So I hope that's not too early for you. But next week, we're starting at 9 o'clock. So I noticed nobody put your cameras on today, so you can join us in your pajamas if you want to, if you're having a late morning. But please be with us next week. We're going to talk about some totally different things. I hope you've enjoyed today. We've got lots more to talk about in the next two weeks, and lots more to talk about. So I'm really glad that you've joined in today. I'm really, really glad that most of you have shared your experiences with us, and there's been some amazing contributions, and I'm grateful for all of those. I hope that you've enjoyed the things that I've covered today. We'll be taking it another step further next week. We'll be scaling up and hopefully helping you to achieve your objectives for this course. We've got 2 or 3 more minutes, so if anybody wants to make a final statement before I close today, I'm quite happy to take a final statement or final comment. But if not, I will wish you a happy rest of the weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you 1 hour earlier next Saturday morning. Have a great week, have a great weekend, have a great week. Have an enjoyable week, and see you soon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Kashua. Okay, so I'm going to sign out now. See you, everybody, and see you next week. Bye, Miguel.